On the 10th day of Christmas, the Commonwealth brought to me 10 sovereign nations, 9 governors general, 8 federations, 7 disputed areas, 6 trust territories, 5 ancient realms, 4 present or prospective republics, 3 High Commission territories, 2 Ghana Guinea fowl, 1 sterling area, $1 dominion, 1 sun what never sets, and a mother country up a gum tree.
At the beginning of our century, the British Empire owned, controlled, had option to, or otherwise managed, 1/4 of the world and 1/3 of its peoples. Afghanistan, 1839. Sikh War, 1848. Burma, 1852. New Zealand, 1865. Abyssinia, 1867. Zulu War, 1879. Sudan, 1885. Gold Coast, 1896.
Kiddies! Get on! Drive!
Poor Johnny Parkway, TV had somewhere in sunny. He met a girl by chance with the naughty, naughty glance. She looked just like a kitty cat. They loved to dance and play. So he learned no French when he left the French. He knew well enough to say, we.
Convinced of their preeminence on Earth, the British spread around it with military and commercial zeal. Few doubted that the great White Mother was born to rule the lesser people. While her grandchildren, her future kings, played soldier on the castle lawn, the grown-ups played for the world. The ultimate imperialist, his dream, British domination in Africa and Asia. He died saying, "So little done, so much to do." Yet he had created a nation, owned the world's richest mines, and believed in the white man's burden. It seemed it would go on forever. Some said it was a dream, a giant's empire of dedicated officials, of wealthy and distant investors, and an army of improbable little men. It didn't work anymore. Gandhi began a third world, and neither friendship nor force could keep it in the empire. Yet somehow the British appeared to be giving it away.
I have a message from His Majesty the King to deliver to you today. This is His Majesty's message. On this historic day, when India takes her place as a free and independent dominion in the British Commonwealth of Nations, I send you all my greetings and heartfelt wishes.
India had demanded and fought for independence for over 30 years. Upon receiving it, she surprised the world. She chose to remain in the Commonwealth. That was just the beginning. Whatever their politics or color, and whether they wanted to or not, they all managed to keep something British. It might be a custom, a game, a law, an army, or a way to say goodbye. Today, members of the Commonwealth appear to have something in common, though even the British are not entirely sure what this means.
With every kind of creed, race and development within it, we can across the world determine together that we shall deny anyone who threatens us, whatever barrier of race or creed, and above all we will uphold the law together, and we will try to understand what it is that we're about across the world. I believe it'll last and it'll be worthwhile.
Well, you know, I think a great many people, certainly in Britain, wonder whether this particular transitional form of humbugging ourselves hasn't served its purpose. We see little evidence that we are humbugging anybody else. All the so-called Commonwealth countries very much go their own way, and it's hardly realistic to describe the Commonwealth as a political entity at all. It is in fact the deposit of history.
I believe that the British Commonwealth is a wonderful institution. It means that most of the British-speaking people in the world are in this Commonwealth. We've fought together during a great many wars, and if there's another one, which God forbid, we'll all have to stand together and fight again.
During the reign of George V, the White Dominions began to assert themselves. This was the last Imperial Conference. The last Emperor of India, a popular monarch who can still be found on dinnerware throughout the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth itself was chummy, private, and conspicuously white. The war exhausted the king, fortified the Commonwealth, and proved everyone just about equal. Even the color scheme began to change. So English, so smooth. It was as if they'd been there all along. In 6 years, the Labour government removed British rule from the lives of 500 million people. A new queen and an old minister presided over the final liquidation of the collector's dream. The empire, the eternal safari, had begun and ended with an Elizabeth. The club is now a fraternity, some of the members fresh from British jails. The color, off-white. The interests, sometimes common. Intentions, generally honorable. Power, limited. Importance, debatable. Future, uncertain.
Once upon a time, there was a British Empire, and the various parts of the British Empire that was once upon a time went their own way. And then the British, in that curious, compromising, muddling, perhaps humbugging way that they have, said, this is splendid. We haven't got an empire, but we've got a Commonwealth, a great Commonwealth on which the sun never sets.
Where the Commonwealth really does work all the time, non-stop, is in practical things like education, cooperation between professions, building dams, building schools, that sort of thing. Because there you see, it's the people working together, and they've all got the same heritage. They've all had connections with Britain for 100 years or more. They've all been educated in the same sort of way. They've all got English as a common language. Every educated person in the Commonwealth talks English. You never feel a foreigner anywhere. This is what the Commonwealth's all about, you know.
What is the Commonwealth all about? Is it Britain at the helm of a happy group of friends? Or is it a collection of obligations from the imperial past?
Such development as you have in the agricultural field has been limited to the production of raw materials. The old colonial system emphasized that there must be no industrial development. The colonies were not to manufacture a nail or a horseshoe.
There are years of careful and conscious preparation. These new nations aren't born in a day. They can't suddenly develop a common local loyalty and produce overnight the skills and the apparatus of modern nationhood.
So therefore, you must call on someone to help you.
Oh no, I've learned to.
But you have to. Where is your scientists? Where are your architects? Where are your great engineers?
Emphasizing particularly the investment of capital from the outside and the production of commodities for export, reminding us of that condemnation of colonialism by a British scholar, that British imperialism was nothing but a vast system of outdoor relief for the British middle classes.
Yes, of course I think the comma's a good thing. I think it's the most wonderful experiment. You hear an awful lot of negative things being said about it. What do you expect? We've got more than a quarter of the people in the whole world trying to live together and work together, and more than 27 governments trying to agree about things. Of course it can have its troubles.
Sometimes the troubles are economic, sometimes military. They go by many names, but invariably they seem to boil down to one basic problem: race.
It so happens, and this is just a fact of life, that the majority of underdeveloped people are in fact of a different color from those that are developed.
It is better to be a king in hell than to be a servant in heaven.
You mean it's better, in fact, to be one of 200,000 massacred and dead with your children, in fact, burned alive and raped, than, in fact, to live an ordinary, peaceful life in a nice home with a car and everything else? Is this what you're saying?
That's exactly. There's no African who can lose an ordinary, human, decent life in Rhodesia at the present time.
Oh, there are very many, and that's why they support the Rhodesian government.
No African supporting the Rhodesian government
why
except by
haven't they
force.
risen up? There's no force. You walk around the streets and no police have any arms on them. This is a state which is a police state.
In Rhodesia, every single policeman is armed.
Absolute lie.
It is not a lie, it's a fact.
British civil servants say that there are 672 people in detention.
Without trial. And you tell me,
yes, but
you have the audacity to tell me that one is living a decent life when one is liable to be arrested at any time.
They've been arrested, in fact, for intimidation, for throwing petrol over people, for lighting people, throwing bombs into homes. This is what they've been arrested.
Let me ask you one question. Why would they do that if they were living a decent life? Do you see people here in America?
They're trying to create the chaos that happened in the Congo.
I'm asking
and
this question again.
We are fighting.
I'm asking this question again. Why would they be throwing bombs and petrols if they were happy?
But there aren't any bombs being thrown.
I haven't finished yet, David.
All right.
While nobody can talk in Rhodesia the way you and I are doing now.
Oh, they are.
At the
Absolutely.
present time.
I'm
talking about Africans. I'm not talking about whites.
Africans can speak
They cannot.
just like
There's no African today who can criticize the Smith government and survive.
He is absolutely entitled to criticize the Smith government. He is only, in fact, detained if he has been party to intimidation, party to force and violence.
David, you know this is not true.
You cannot expect the Rhodesian, whose fathers, grandfathers, forebears went there, dug this country out of nothing, built a nation out of two warring tribes, to now sit back happily and be told by the Canadian government, who shot their indigenous population or poisoned them or killed them, as far as I know there aren't any Red Indians left, that we who fed ours, treated them, brought them up from 250,000 to 4 million, that we're wrong. We think we've done a better job than you've done.
Now, why the difference? Why this different treatment? If we believe that man is man, the creature of God, why should we treat him differently when he happens to carry a different shade of color? This is why I feel so strongly about this whole thing. The British government is failing deliberately to quell the rebellion because it is a white rebellion. The so-called Keith and Kin approach, to me, is unchristian, primitive, and completely uncivilized.
The Rhodesian problem may look complicated, but the principle involved is extremely simple. It is fundamentally whether political power is to be handed over to 200,000 whites with sovereign rule over the fate of 4 million Africans.
There is a barrier based on racial differences, but not on the ability of civilized and uncivilized.
Yes, not at all. What today's Commonwealth is doing is, it is terribly engrossed in the political mumbo-jumbo, and that's it.
But out of that long time which we have shared together, I think we do now still share a common habit of thought.
Oh, you can't even farm properly. You don't even know how to begin to grow properly.
No, not at all.
So you must call on someone.
I have got clinching evidence. I can quote the statistics that the engineers, present scientists, and any technicians in my country are not a direct boon or bounty from Commonwealth. No, that's the direct outcome of our own soul efforts.
That's the problem. That's why you cannot produce as much.
Well, have any of you thought about what you're going to put into the Commonwealth?
Well, actually, if you can't get out anything of it, you won't be prepared to put anything into it. So it's back to square. The best is to leave it.
Now, this is a load of rubbish.
Well, you have to qualify. Now, hang on. I think this is again a gross lie. The loans we are getting is from the United States, and the United States is not a member of the Commonwealth.
The history of Commonwealth lies in the churchyard of every city and the battlefields of the world where men have fought and died.
It's a load of rubbish.
But the point remains is this: as a child need help, we are children. Exactly. We are in the embryo.
No, I think this is your...
There's a great gap. We can't turn to the Americans, we can't turn to the Russians, we can't turn to the Chinese. We can only turn to people that have the same aptitude and the same culture as we.
Well,
and that is the Commonwealth.
Absolutely.
But it surely is something worth striving for, because...
Well, it's worth striving for it if people are genuine about what they do or genuine about what they say.
True.
I mean, why Britain? Britain is just one member of the 26.
But you must remember that if Britain hadn't made an empire in the first place, the countries developing today wouldn't be as developed as they are.
They might be better off than they are today.
They would still be in a much less developed...
Oh, no, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. Most of these countries have no civilization older than the British.
The point remains is this, that since Britain have got more out of the Commonwealth than anyone else, it is but fair that she should return a little.
Quite. I think I can foresee a complete disintegration of this body. It's a deadlock to a cover. Now look,
the true Commonwealth represents the cultural community, which spends...
Oh, hell with culture. We don't want any cultural advancement. No, hell with culture and you. We want the advancement of culture.